Now, do you remember George? You remember George, don't you? Yeah, you remember George? This is a lava rock. Remember that? Okay. So if you want to get in contact with me to know more information, it's email. I'm with American Online, so I have an email address and the website. So you know that already. You know, George has been lots of fun for us with these words on the bottom. But you know you can get rocks with writing on them. It's called petrographs. Don't take them. They're in the national parks. But they are such things. All right, let's get back to this quartz. I have another word for you. Geodes. A geode is a rock in which it's hollow in the inside and crystals, most often it's quartz, grows on the inside of that. Now the best place to start is in Georgia. Good old Georgia and Tennessee and up that way. This rock I found in the mountains. And what you got to do, you've got to have great strength, and you got to crack this thing open because it's like an egg. But on the inside, oh, look at that. Crystals. Some are kind of clear and crystally, and others are kind of fogged up and everything. There's a nice good one right here. That's a clear one doing that to us. See that? Now, guess what would happen if black mineral got into this rock? Have you guessed? Take a look. If black gets into a rock, a geode, there's the black, see? Guess what you get? Oh, black crystals. Look at that. They look like stars at night, or fireflies. It doesn't really twinkle like that. You have to hold it steady. But once again, see it? It's been cracked in half. Guess what happens if the crystals grow together? You ready for that one? What happens when the crystals grow together? Okay, here's a rock. It's no longer a geode. It's called another name now. When the geode closes, all the crystals close in. See my little white mark on it? It becomes an agate. You've heard of agates, right? Okay, look at this. Ah, all the crystals have grown in. This is called an, ready? Eyeball agate. Because it looks like a big eye looking at you. Isn't that spectacular? And look at this one. Now this has been cut and polished. Let's see, that's the polished side and this is not. That's the polished side. Oh, look at that. This side is not. So look at the prettier side. See how it's been sliced like a loaf of bread? So this is a geode. See how the crystals all came together and closed it up? Isn't that neat? And so that's now called an agate. Most people, they buy these. These are very popular. And when they buy them, there's usually some kind of a pewter or a little statue sitting on it or whatever. But I like this one in particular, because you can see the crystals had not quite closed out the center. The rings, of course, is due to the different color sands that came into the geode, closed up the geode, and formed agate. Isn't that clever? Now, some crystals can be clear and some crystals are not clear. And the secret of that is, look at these two here. There's a very good secret to that you want to call it a secret. And that is, if the crystal grows too quickly, it's cloudy. The longer the crystal has its opportunity to grow, the slower it grows, the clearer the crystal becomes. All right? Is that simple enough? Now, if there's a mineral in the area, then you have citron, not ruby, you have citron and rose quartz and stuff like that. Now let me show you some neat rocks. Here's one that everybody likes to buy. I'm telling you, every kid walks out of the store with one of these. Oh, it's not gold, it's what? You got it. Fool's gold. Now for you educated students, you would say this is iron pyrite. So these are crystals. Now here's a good example of how you can improve your rock collection. Okay, standard form, you know, that's it. But you see, if you let the crystal grow long enough, now iron pyrite crystals won't become clear. But look at square shape. Look at that. Isn't that neat? This is one of these that's grown up. It's had a chance to form and become a lot larger. Isn't that spectacular? Okay, now look at this one. We saw this before, but But you remember the sparkles on this rock? I told you it was gold. Yeah, well, look at this one. This is like a gold nugget. This is about just under 2 ounces. So whatever the price of gold is going per ounce, that's how much this rock is worth. I got this from the Rosamond gold mine I mentioned to you some time back in California. That was back years ago when gold was only like $35 an ounce. Now, if you go anywhere near that mine, not only would you get shot, but you have other problems. So anyway, I was blessed enough to be able to get this in the early years in which gold was not that value. This I got later at a rock shop. Okay? Now, this looks like somebody has dripped metal on it. We call that like solder. And this has got little teeny sparkles. Under a microscope, you'll still see little bitty drops. But in fool's gold, it's always in what? Squares, cubes, or crystal form. You do not find gold in crystal forms. A gold nugget is simply a chunk with this all gold. And I got something else to show you. There's always some neat things you want to add to your rock collection. And one of the neat things are, you go up to the Smoky Mountains. And you pay, and I mentioned before, you pay your bucket for $1, $2, 50 cents or whatever. Oh, and you get some beautiful, smooth stones. Don't go there anymore. This was taken from a bucket in Smoky Mountains. See? Gravel from Smoky Mountains. And this is a ripoff, kids. Yeah, these could have come from, some of these came from Smoky Mountains, but most of those sitting right there in front of you, looks like most of these are Mexican agate. What you really want to get a hold of up there is a guy who's a little bit more fair about it, and he gives you this stuff. Doesn't look very spectacular, does it? But in there are such things as rubies, sapphires, garnets, emeralds. Now you're into something good. How good? Oh, there's always the story of this lady, she found this ruby, and she was worth $35,000. That does happen. But I was talking to one of the owners who had one of these places where you bought your bucket of dirt, and I said, how many people get through here a year? And he said, oh, we run just about under 1 million people. Okay, if someone finds a $35,000 ruby in the side of that mountain, you know, slushing the water in the bucket and the dirt, then is that really going to hurt the owner? No. If he's had just about 1 million people and they all paid $5 a bucket, in 1 year he's made $5 million. So, and what they'll do sometimes, they'll buy a mountain and he'll move all of his equipment over there in the water, and all of a sudden there's a new place where you can get rocks, and that's where you pan from it. That guy's good. In fact, these that I showed you earlier, the different kinds of quartz, that came out of one of those buckets. Now that does not come from the Smoky Mountains. That came from, he bought it, shipped it in, and threw it into the buckets of mud that you bought. So it's fun. You get dirty, you get muddy, you get all wet, and the Smoky Mountains, of course, kind of chilly. So it's a fun thing to do maybe once. But anyway, it's a way to add to your collection. The only problem is to get those little pieces of pebbles identified. Sometimes it's difficult to identify them because they are just little pebbles. But usually, if the guy is a real honest type guy, he'll tell, oh yeah, here, these are sapphires, these are rubies, these are garnets, and these are emeralds. Okay, so those places do exist. Those things do exist up there. In fact, just south of Franklin, North Carolina, there is a small little town that says, come and dig for emeralds. It's hilarious. You go out in this guy's backyard, it's all muddy and yucky and big holes, looks like somebody's been dropping bombs and things, and you got to go down there and get all messed up and dig your own. Well, that's fun. You don't have the water and all that neat stuff. You're just in pure mud, and you scoosh the mud up and you look for little green stones. For example, here, there's some emeralds here, right here. Don't look very exciting, but these emeralds are from Venezuela. See how they sparkle like that, kind of long? See, that's your emerald shape. The emerald is that shape. Since you're right there with it, stay with it. Here's some garnets, rubies, and sapphires from